Welcome to the lunation situation. We are going to talk about something super important because we are right now in between two eclipses. And between two eclipses is regarded as a twilight zone. It's a very weird vibe, and it's like the portals of the universe are open. As I mentioned in the other video, things are reshuffling, right? That's what eclipses are about. It's where kind of the universe takes over and guides us, pushes us, forces us into the right direction. Eclipses are major changes. A lot is going on during an eclipse. A lot of energy is released into the atmosphere, so to speak. So April 20th, we had a solar eclipse at 29 degrees near the end of the Aries sign, and that was quite hot and volatile, and also the beginning of the coming 18 months. Now, we find ourselves at the closure of the eclipse season for now, with a lunar eclipse that occurs May 5th at 17:33 in the evening GMT, so adjust for your own local time. This occurs at 14 degrees and 57 minutes of the sign of Scorpio. And here we find ourselves at a full moon energy. And full moons are all about closure, right? It's all about releasing, ending, something wrapping up, something coming to fruition, something coming full circle. Also something coming to light, something is being revealed, and that sounds very scorpionic. Now, this is the last Scorpio eclipse for, closing out a part of the Taurus Scorpio eclipses that we've had for the last 18 months. So with this lunar eclipse in Scorpio, we are closing off a really big cycle, and we will not see a Scorpio eclipse for the next 9 years. So this is pretty significant. And indeed, it seems like a lot will be closed off during and around this eclipse. Now, mind you that all eclipses have at least 6 months of an impact, so this can definitely last till like October of this year. And it's a hot period 6 weeks prior and 6 weeks after an eclipse, so remember that. Now, I talked about what a full moon means, right? So this is a lunar eclipse, making it a full moon energy. And that means that the moon is opposite the sun. We find that the sun is in the sign of Taurus, which is very nature loving, very, doing it simple, doing it slow, likes pleasure and the finer things in life. It's about your basic needs, and just a practical approach, very determined and motivated to set goals and complete them. So that's where our sun is. That's where our energy is. That's how we feel. With a sun in Taurus, it's easier to feel good. It's easier since it's high springtime to go out, to find yourself in nature and to enjoy just the simple things in life. But this also begs important questions of, what are your needs, and what is that basic need that you need to survive? What's important to you? What's valuable to you? Those are Taurus questions. This is relevant because also the North Node is still in Taurus, and this is actually the last eclipse as well, where the North Node is in Taurus. That's because in the summer, the nodes are changing signs into Aries and Libra. So, as I said, a lot is finishing off with this eclipse. We do have a Taurus eclipse near the end of this year, but the North Node won't be in Taurus for 19 years, okay? So, big cycles coming to closure. A lot is going on. And for that, we need to look at the chart. But before we do that, let's look at the moon, because this lunation situation, this eclipse, is focused on the sign of Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is a very intense vibration, an intense energy. Ruled by Pluto, it goes super deep. It goes into the lowest layers of existence, and it's where the dirt is, the nitty-gritty, the secrets, the hidden, the ugly, the trauma, the fears, subconscious programming. A lot is going on in Scorpio. It's a very powerful energy, just like Pluto is. And the Plutonian nature of Scorpio makes it a very deep digging sign, a very deep digging energy. So it's about excavation. So it digs up the dirt, right? It digs up the secrets. It brings it to light, especially during a full moon, where the moon reflects the light of the sun, right? Fully. It enhances the quality of Scorpio and Pluto, that it exposes things, it brings things to light, it reveals, it penetrates to the core, to what needs to be faced, which is usually either blocked or feared, not wanting to be looked at because it might not be pretty, it might not be nice, it might not feel good, As I said, it's a very intensifying energy. Scorpio is very much about the release, the letting go, the elimination, and so is a full moon. So, and this is the last Scorpio eclipse. You can see that all these themes are enhanced. So this is a very much of an ending kind of energy. This is about cutting things off, really stopping a cycle. This is about just deep understanding of whatever is going on, and whatever is dictating you, the collective, on a very deep level that usually is just not faced. But we will have to with this last and final lunar eclipse. So this lunation is going to probe and uncover anything that needs to transform to empower us, right? So anything that is blocking us needs to be transformed here. And as I said, Scorpio as well as Pluto rules death, and that is a natural way of ending. It's not literal, right? But something here needs to die off, something needs to drastically change. So secrets, shadows, psychological patterns, deep fears, mysteries, esoteric knowledge will come up, and Scorpio rules crises. So it's very likely that something might be triggered around this time. It's about, alchemizing the energies, about alchemizing your psychology and those fear patterns. But you know, that transmutation of the energies is a very high expression of Scorpio. And for that, one needs to do deep investigative work. One needs to, you know, be a detective and research and go down some rabbit holes of your own and collective, right? We're all interrelated. So this is about facing stuff, and ultimately it's about strengthening, but not without a crisis, right? And interestingly enough, the axes of Taurus and Scorpio are the financial axis. So this is about economy as well. Scorpio is about the money of others, money that we have with others. So can be banks, taxes, loans, also joint, you know, merged financial situations. This is again a moment where the economy is in danger, as it has been for the last 18 months. So that's something to look out for. And with the Sun in Taurus and the North Node in Taurus, this is about, you know, having possessions that you can physically own, that you can physically touch and see and feel and smell. So beware of that. You know, beware of the practical side of Taurus, which is right opposite Scorpio, right? So we have to find both things and find the middle ground within. So that's why I also say what's needed on the other side, which is the Taurian, of where the Sun is and the North Node is. So also be sure to be practical and, you know, focus on building your own wealth and values, since, you know, the economy can be truly in danger. So, you know, there's an imminent financial crisis, and, you know, this one might be it. Because of the nature of Scorpio. Okay, and since this is a closing lunar eclipse, this can be about closing, you know, dying off of systems, of especially financial systems, our relationship with money, that might really need to change. And yeah, this could be one of those moments where some important forces can be activated. As I said, it's a hot period around 6 weeks after as well, but the effects can last good 6 months. So maybe the financial crisis won't happen exactly then, although there are great indications that it might. If not, it's likely that we will see some of that unfold over the coming 6 months. So that's a gentle warning. I mean, that's what it looks like astrologically, okay? Other than that, Scorpio is super private, so this is maybe more of a seclusive energy, where you're not eager to reveal to many people. You don't have to. Shadow work is personal work. You know, this is a time where we will be very focused. That's the benefit of Scorpio. The problem with Scorpio is that the focus and the, you know, deep intelligence can, and due to the nature of Scorpio, can really be attached, and that won't work well with a lunar eclipse, with a full moon energy. And oddly enough, Scorpio is all about endings and release and elimination and letting go, cutting off. So it's odd that there is this dichotomy, that it also is very attached to, its own ways, and just kind of obsessed with some people or situations, or and so there is this, I suppose, inner fight to overcome your own psychology, to overcome your own emotional nature. Okay, the reason for that is because the South Node in Scorpio, which is at 3 degrees, the last little bit of Scorpio, that is trining Saturn in Pisces. And this is all about bringing inner authority over your emotional world, being emotionally responsible, and, at the end of the day, becoming emotionally mature. That's what Saturn in Pisces is about, if you ask me. So here, Saturn is helping us to eliminate, to let go of deep subconscious programs of, responses, of blockages in our emotional world. And so this helps to get us on the right side of Scorpio, which means letting go of things, releasing them. As I often say, eclipses are moments of destiny, of universal forces taking over. So here, things can be eclipsed out like that, and things can be eclipsed in similarly like that. So it's eclipses have that Uranian nature where it goes fast. It can suddenly, out of nowhere, come as a surprise that something ends and something might begin. But this is a lunar eclipse, so it's likely that things will be eclipsed out and that things will come to an end, right? And here it's clear to see that it's time to step into your emotional responsibility that will lead to emotional maturity. Okay. But this is a very Uranian lunar eclipse anyway, so that's funny. This means that, Uranus is very close to the lunation, and indeed it is. It's right next to the sun, with a 4 degrees difference. So the sun as well as Uranus are higher intelligence and consciousness, awareness. Here we might receive massive downloads of wisdom that will help us forward. This is also about, major awakenings and realizations of what's going on here on Earth, and how we might improve our situation here. Maybe realizing, what we need, what is important, what is valuable, and also in Taurus, since it's, about the pleasures of life, the sensuality of life, then what brings us that pleasure, right? What feels good. And it might be easier around this time to really tap into that, to feel that, to understand that, to accept that, and to find your own twist to that, right? Your own authentic perspective on it. And this could really help you to, you know, take forward action, you know, to innovate and build a strong foundation in your life. It can also really shake you, and, you know, the awakening might not always be very nice with Uranus, because it is about, you know, chaos and, you know, breakthroughs through breakdowns sometimes. And it can feel very uncertain, shaky, but trust the downloads and just the knowledge and perspectives that you're getting around this time, because these insights are indeed very valuable. So maybe you want to write them down to remember them, and to trust these energies and this information. And ideas, I should say. There are ideas coming up, bubbling up, that you want to look at. So interestingly, a very important point to point out is that Mercury is retrograde during this lunar eclipse. And fascinatingly, it started its retrograde period right after the last eclipse 2 weeks ago, on April 21st. So we are in the middle of that Mercury retrograde occurring in Taurus. In this lunation, it's at 8 degrees of Taurus. The North Node is at 3 degrees of Taurus, so this is a conjunction, as they say. This is a combination of energies. The Mercury retrograde has been dancing around the North Node, and I think that's very significant, as well as the significance of a Mercury retrograde right around the eclipses. So this is very meaningful. Now, what is Mercury about? It's our mind, it's information, it's how we learn, what we want to learn. It's about our mobility, it's about, you know, transportation, it's about electronic devices, it's about contracts and agreements, anything written, spoken, you know, it's about communication. That's Mercury. But when it's retrograde, from our perspective on Earth, it seems that it goes backwards. It's not, but it's just how we view that from Earth. And it changes the energy of Mercury. And Mercury is the closest planet to us. So the effects of a Mercury retrograde are therefore easily felt. Like, it has a bigger noticeable impact because it's our daily lives. And when it goes retrograde, all these Mercurian topics of information, of communication, of transport, mobility, electronic devices, contracts, whatever, go haywire, okay? So this is a time where one ought to reflect and, you know, reassess a situation and rethink a situation, to not suddenly act upon things, to take it slower, to retreat, just reevaluate whatever's on your mind and how you're communicating, what you want to learn, and all of that. So generally, a Mercury retrograde is a period where we have less focus and we might overlook details. We might accidentally say things, or, you know, write things that we didn't per se want to say. It's just a time to be more aware of details, but the problem is that we are probably less aware of them. You understand? So that's why most astrologers say, like, don't sign agreements, don't buy new electronic devices, be careful with your communication, you know, learn more, go back and go over things you've already been doing, and, you know, more about how you can do it better once Mercury goes direct. Of course, there are always, you know, there's always a different side to a story. If you have Mercury retrograde in your chart, this is actually a very comfortable time for you. Now, because usually Mercury is a very fast planet, and during a retrograde it's not, it's slowed down and it seemingly goes backwards, which is quite uncomfortable for Mercury, right? This is giving us a very reflective, slower interpretation process, and you know, that makes it interesting, the timing of it. Why is it during an eclipse season that Mercury is retrograde? Why is it dancing around, becoming conjunct almost with the North Node in Taurus, when the North Node in Taurus is almost leaving the sign? So that's there's a story here, right? So Mercury here is saying that we need to rethink these Taurian things that I've been mentioning in this video, and that there is some information that we are lacking, or something that we need to learn and look at, you know, change the way we mentally do things, and some extra hyper focus on the Taurus elements, especially the North Node in Taurus. So the slowing down of Mercury, I would say, is beneficial here, because these two eclipses, I feel, on April 20th, 29 degrees of Aries, that's very volatile, you know, warlike energy, just a lot of energy in the air. And then this one, May 5th, the last Scorpio eclipse, you know, lunar eclipse. This is about, as I said, closure, endings. A lot is going on here, and Scorpio being the crisis sign is not very promising, right, in that sense. So I think it's very interesting that Mercury's retrograde, and it's like, otherwise we would miss things like this. These two eclipses are so important. They are so big, like major things are occurring right here, and it's only between 2-week time, right? It's a 2-week window, so it's a very short period. And I think it's why the universe is saying, like, I'm putting the brakes on, you know, this mental chatter, and I want you to review, I want you to rethink, reevaluate, and reassess, you know, the true important things in your life. So question about, what are your values? What is important? What does a good life mean to you? What do you want to build? What kind of physical, tangible things do you need for survival, basic needs in your life, right? What information are you lacking about that? And what do you need to retrieve if there was anything lost on this last 18-month period? So this is like collecting the crumbles that were left behind of your own journey, and you know, the universe is saying that these are pretty significant, so collect the lost, or the forgotten, or the left behind, and this will help you on your path forward. And with the North Node, it's quite a destined, important, fated path. And also, interestingly, the North Node is about the unknown. We need to learn that path. And Mercury is about learning. So here there is really something quite important. Maybe this is about, as I said, basic surviving needs. Listen, if the economy is like, if it goes through a major crisis, if there are volatile things going on in how do you say, like, natural catastrophes, which I'll go into why I say that, then there are things you might want to learn, right? So in Taurus is about gardening. It's about, you know, agriculture. It's about food, how to have it, how to store it, how to raise it, grow it, right? And as I said, basic needs. This is survival, this is safety, this is security, this is, you know, like your house, something solid, something you can touch, something valuable for you, what you find valuable. And yeah, maybe learn some practical approaches to that is what Mercury is enhancing over here. So actually, whatever's going on in your mind, whatever little information and ideas you're getting around this time is, again, really, really valuable, not to be taken for granted. So our mind is having this interesting little transformation as well, I feel. Yeah, this could also be the North Node conjunct Mercury, could also be, you know, retrospective news. So getting news or information on whatever has been happening the last 18 months, but also on, you know, news and information on your path of destiny, of a higher calling on Earth, because Taurus is an Earth sign. Yeah, this is about grounding in ideas, bringing the information to practical level as well. Also, asteroid Vesta is really close to Mercury here, and meaning also close to the North Node. And that's about sacred inner flame. It's about, again, home and security. So there's something really important and sacred to maintain. You know, find that inner flame regarding these topics as well. Also, the North Node is conjunct Jupiter. There's a lot going on around the North Node, as you can tell. Conjunct Jupiter, it means that we have a great motivation to move forward as well. But it's probably after Mercury goes direct that we can really take serious steps. That is May 15th. So until then, it's more of going back, reflecting, and taking it a little bit slower on your decision making. It's more about collecting information and intelligence. So in astrology, we always look at the ruler of the lunation to find extra information and background to the situation. And Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, as I said, and Pluto is having, has just started a retrograde May 1st. This is pretty important as well. I think Mercury and Pluto are the only retrograding planets right now. I would say this is advantageous because Pluto is losing a bit of its power. And I would say that's kind of nice because Pluto in full power could be really destructive. So Pluto has been making a T-square to the nodes of fate, as I said, the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio, for some lunations, okay? And it will last till like September, October. So here, this lunation is pretty strong because Pluto is still in Aquarius at 0 degrees, and the nodes are at 3 degrees. So this is a pretty tight orb, and this is a fixed T-square. So these are all fixed signs. Fixed signs are attached, don't easily budge. You know, change is very uncomfortable for them. But as I said, the same with the dichotomy of Scorpio, fixed signs also are like change is imminent with them. You know, Aquarius is all about changes and new and, you know, rebellion and going your own way. Scorpio is about release, about transformation, right? About alchemy. Taurus is maybe the only one that is really about holding on, like, you know, building something. And but fixed signs, I think what makes them sort of related to each other, why there are fixed signs, is because change goes through crises, right? It's uncomfortable. They hold on too much to the status quo because that gives some form of safety and security. And so this T-square to Pluto is uncomfortable, is crises prone, okay? But ultimately, of course, Pluto is about empowerment and strengthening, and it just means at 0 degrees of Aquarius, it's strengthening our own voice, our own authentic beingness, and, you know, innovating our lives, having bigger long-term future plans, and incorporating just a greater benefit for humanity, of the greater good in all of your actions. So this T-square is pretty uncomfortable, but as I said, it's advantageous. I would say that Pluto is going retrograde, so there's a little bit of a release of tension because just Pluto isn't at full power. And in evolutional astrology, we can always look at the release point, which is at the opposite side of that triangle, and that opposite side of Pluto is Leo. And interestingly, opposite Pluto, we find another asteroid, Pallas Athena, and she represents war, craft, wisdom. This is about creative intelligence. It's all about pattern recognition, which is really relevant for that Scorpio theme, you know, recognizing the psychological patterns, and it plays on the Aquarius themes where the T-square is pointed at, right? It's intelligence, it's perspective, it's knowledge, wisdom, but Pallas is giving that creative spin to it, and that fire, in that sense, warlike energy that it just fuels the intelligence in a creative way. And this could be about strategy as well. So it's about thinking for yourself, thinking probably from the heart in Leo, and just finding practical arts as a release of tension. You know, the creativity of Leo, the playfulness of Leo, the courageousness, inspirational side of Leo is what we need to find balance in this situation, in this tension. Pallas Athena in Leo, the release point of Pluto, could also be about artistic vision. So what is your creative side saying? What is your heart saying? And incorporate that for true satisfaction. So this is inviting us to bridge, you know, the intellect with intuition, with the heart's intuition. And I think it's fascinating that the universe is pointing that out to us here. So that's Pluto, the ruler. We can also look at Mars, which was the ancient ruler of Scorpio before Pluto was discovered around the 1940s. So Mars is making some positive, harmonious aspect, which is nice. Mars is in the sign of the crab, so he is all about the home, family, heritage, roots, about safety, about the emotional motivations, about you know, the heart as well. And it is trining Neptune in Pisces, and that is giving really intuitive, sensitive, emotional intelligence. And this is helping us to release anything in the way we take action that isn't good for us. This is where we can really trust the intuitive, emotional messages that we receive in our body, that these are very valuable in the steps taking forward, right? Also, Mars is sextiling Uranus, that we mentioned is near the sun. So this is about, you know, solid forward moving motion, action, and this is a very, because it's a mix of earth and water, this is pretty solid. This is building some form of building, you know, on your values, building on your safety, but just in a very new way, innovating your ideas about family, about safety, about what is your home, where is your home, right? And of course it's here, it's in the heart, and family is not always blood, it's more than that, right? You create your own family as well. But maybe also just the importance of family, the importance of, you know, the importance of pleasure and safety. And somehow doing this in your own unique way, giving your own spin to this, finding a very authentic way of home, security, safety, family, and feeling good about it all. Just a very more good understanding of what is motivating you and how to go after that. So that's basically the chart of this lunation situation. As you can see, Mercury's already playing with me because I'm like lost at words and difficult to express things. That's Mercury retrograde as well. But I want to leave you with one last point of knowledge, and that is that there is a really important timeline going on here that is coming to full closure. And I've made a previous video on that. I'll post it below, where I discussed the massive earthquakes in Turkey that were super devastating. It was a very big region and a big catastrophe, major losses, very sad. And interestingly, that had a very big astrological significance. So the timeline here is, of course, a closing timeline because it's a Scorpio nature here, right? The lunar eclipse. So May 5th closes out a really big cycle, but it had started November 8th of 2022, where we had a total lunar eclipse in Scorpio as well at 15 degrees and 59 minutes. And here we have May 5th, the lunar eclipse again, almost at 15 degrees. So 2 lunar eclipses around the same degree, with 6 months in between, right? The midpoint between these 2 eclipses of November 8th last year, May 5th this year, was February 5th, and that was in Leo. That was also a full moon, and it occurred at 16 degrees and 40 minutes of the sign of Leo, which was squaring Uranus at 15 degrees of Taurus. This is important because 15 degrees of the fixed signs, and both these eclipse points in time occurred around the 15 degrees of the fixed signs. This is a world point energy, as we call. It's how I interpret it is that it's closer to Earth, the 15 degrees of the fixed signs, which is Taurus, 15 degrees Taurus, 15 degrees Leo, 15 degrees Scorpio, which is this lunar eclipse, and 15 degrees of Aquarius. Now, these are world points, right? So when big planets are on the 15 degrees of the fixed signs, major things can occur in the world, and the sign placement will give us an idea of what. And Taurus is, of course, Earth. So no surprise, I would say, that an earthquake happened February 5th, and the reason why I mention it is because this could have an earthquake energy as well, because because it's at 15 degrees of Scorpio, meaning that the sun is at 15 degrees of Taurus. So this is actually activating where Uranus was back at February 5th when the major earthquake happened in the east of Turkey. So I don't want to fearmonger. At the end of the day, am not the divine source, so I don't know for sure. I'm just saying that astrologically, these are energetic trigger points. And I wish it didn't happen, and I hope it doesn't happen. But astrologically, it seems that things can be very well triggered around what happened February 5th, and what happened on November 8th. And this makes me very worrisome, specifically around Turkey, because November 8th, there was a bomb going off at a very well-known street in Istanbul. February 5th was a big earthquake, devastating earthquake in Turkey. And this just, you know, I hope it's nothing serious, but it looks like this could be something very serious. But it's a world point, so it's not just Turkey. It could also be very well somewhere else. You know, it could also be, as I said, that financial crisis, you know, that could also be the big devastating catastrophe. Yeah, making this is a Uranian eclipse, right? So that adds to the volatileness of this particular lunation. And Uranus was also involved in November 8th lunar eclipse. It was also involved at the February 5th full moon in Leo, which is why I'm wary. And which is why this lunar situation looks intense, to say it neutrally. Yeah, what is our benefit? Well, I don't know. If we're aware, maybe we can be more prepared, I hope, if you can. Just be careful. And I can say that in ancient times, astrologers would tell people to not go about much around these dates, to not take risks, to, if you can, not like be outside, and which is really hard. I know in modern times people have work and things to do, and if you can't do that, then just be really careful. Be highly alert, focused, and trust your intuition. If your intuition is like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to take this path, and you know, it's that little jolt of information and feeling, so you have to be aware to feel into your intuition, but trust it. Trust it. Trust it, especially when this lunar eclipse is trining Mars in the sign of Crab. This is high intuition. This is, you know, the mother, the womb. This is female intelligence at its top. So you really want to feel into your emotions, into your intuition, into your heart, because it will guide you on the right track for sure. So that comforts us and guides us, right? And protects us at the end of the day. So, yeah, you know, these are intense eclipses, and I do not want to make light of it, because it's not. So yeah, this is it. And a lot of changes, and I think what we can trust about eclipses is that it's always divine timing. So whatever occurs, trust that you are built for this, that you are strong, that you are powerful, and that you knowing who you are and standing in the power, you having your heart in the right place and being kind will always solve most of the issues. You know, this is just a checking in point of the fleetingness of life, you know, how at the end of the day, all of us are going to pass away at some moment in time. So, in that sense, it's kind of also a reality check. And this is why your values are so important. This is why loving kindness is so important, because it transmutes, it transcends your current life. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, this is a beautiful lunation situation. There are a lots of trines and sextiles and really good potentials as well. So this is not all volatile, but there are parts of it that could bring in some crises. We're ready for it, right? And here we wrap up the eclipse season, and you know, we can hopefully enter in some calmer waters, and we won't have eclipses until October. So just surrender to the energies and be smart with your intuition, and make sure that you always express your love to the people you love the most. And see you in the next lunation situation. Take care.